is with us, and criminal defense attorney Lara Yeretsian is with us as well. Welcome to you both. Great to have you with us. I want to put up on the screen, this is some, when it comes to aiding and abetting in Minnesota, there was a case in 2007 that that laid out a couple of the elements that I think makes it a little bit more difficult for prosecutors, kind of an extra hurdle that they have. They've got to prove that the defendant knew that his alleged accomplices were going to commit a crime. Okay, so here, I guess these three officers would have to know that Chauvin was going to commit a crime, or the other officers were going to commit a crime, and they intended his presence or actions to further the commission of the crime. So they were there, or their actions were intended to further the commission of the crime. All right, Lara Yeretsian, I'll begin with you. What do you think about prosecutors having to prove that these three knew that a crime was going to be committed? It's almost like, you know, aiding and abetting, like you kind of plan it or you have an idea, but that clearly wasn't the situation here. So at what point are prosecutors, you think, going to argue that he knew his alleged accomplices were going to commit a crime here?
Well, I mean, as far as with each officer, it's going to be a little different as far as the position that the prosecution is going to take. But I think what the prosecution is going to have to focus on is the crowd screaming that he's not breathing, the crowd seeing what kind of a problem is in front of them, and the officers, they must have known too. Tao, for example, you've got a crowd conversing with him, screaming, telling him, go check the pulse, telling him that this man needs to be rolled over, that he can't breathe. He can hear George Floyd screaming at some points that he can't breathe. The crowd is getting rowdier and rowdier. So you think at that point he's got some kind of notice that something is really, really wrong with the way that this particular arrest is being handled. So maybe I'm assuming that that's what the prosecution is going to focus on, that if the crowd can see that, then an officer like Thao should have known that. And as a senior officer, should have at least interfered or intervened.
But it's not should have known, actually knows.
In this case, knows, because he's hearing it. Basically, he's hearing it. Maybe he doesn't know that he has no pulse, but at the least, he knows the crowd is telling him the man is not breathing anymore. And I don't know if you could overhear some of the other officers saying that there's no King. I think at some point says that there's no pulse. I'm not sure if he overheard that, but he's getting notice at this point. The entire crowd is telling him that he knows something is wrong and is doing nothing about it.
Okay, Lenita, so